On a quiet trail in the southern Sierra Nevada stands a stump so vast a family could dine on top of it. It is all that remains of one of the largest living things that ever grew on Earth, a giant sequoia felled in an afternoon and shipped in pieces to the far side of the world. This is a walk through the Big Stump Grove of Kings Canyon National Park, a forest that remembers both the giants and the axe. We are high in the southern Sierra Nevada of California, on the western edge of Kings Canyon National Park, near the town of Grant Grove. Here the mountains climb from golden foothills into cool forests of pine and fir, and scattered among them grow the giant sequoias, found naturally nowhere else on Earth but this narrow band of the range. The giant sequoia is not the tallest tree, nor the oldest, but by sheer volume it is the largest living thing on the planet. A mature giant can rise the height of a 20-story building, weigh more than a fully loaded jet, and hold enough wood to build dozens of houses. They can live for over 3,000 years, their cinnamon bark growing feet thick, shrugging off fire and time alike. This grove was once a cathedral of such trees. Walk the trail today and you pass among living sequoias still soaring overhead, but you also pass their fallen kin, enormous pale stumps scattered through the forest like the pillars of a ruined temple. The Big Stump Grove earned its name honestly. This is a place where you can read in the wood itself the story of what was lost. The park takes its name from the Great Canyon carved to the east by the Kings River. Glaciers and water gouged it more than 1.5 miles deep, among the deepest gorges on the continent, its granite walls plunging to a wild river below. It is a landscape of superlatives, of the biggest trees standing above one of the deepest canyons in North America. The naturalist John Muir wandered this country in the 1870s and was awestruck. He explored the Canyon of the Kings and declared it a rival to his beloved Yosemite, a Yosemite Valley of its own hidden in the southern Sierra. He walked among these very sequoias and pleaded that such trees, the work of thousands of years, should never fall to the saw. But he was not the first to see their worth. In the 1880s, others looked at these giants and saw only lumber. Loggers pushed into the grove, and the age of the great sequoias met the age of the axe and the crosscut saw. To fell a single tree wider than a road took a team of men days of sawing, driving wedges into a cut deep enough to swallow them. One by one, trees older than the pyramids began to come down. At the heart of the grove stood the Smith Comstock mill, its saws screaming through the ancient wood. A whole industry rose here to render the biggest living things on Earth into fence posts, shingles, and grape stakes. It was a strange arithmetic. 3,000 years of growth converted into the cheapest of goods, and it was about to reveal its own folly. For all their size, the giants betrayed their cutters. Sequoia wood is brittle, and a tree that had stood for millennia would shatter when it finally struck the ground, splintering much of its priceless trunk into waste. Loggers dug trenches and laid beds of branches to soften the fall, yet still a great share of each fallen giant broke apart, useless. Whole forests were felled to salvage a fraction of their wood. The most famous casualty stood not far from here. In 1891, a giant known as the Mark Twain Tree, some 300 feet tall and over 1,000 years old, was chosen for a strange purpose. It took 2 men 8 days to saw through its trunk. When at last it fell, the crash could be heard for miles, and one of the oldest living things in the grove lay dead upon the forest floor. The Mark Twain tree was cut for exhibition. A full cross-section of its trunk was carried east and mounted in the American Museum of Natural History in New York, while another great slab was shipped across the Atlantic to the British Museum in London. Crowds who would never see the Sierra stood astonished before a single slice of a tree, counting rings that reached back before the fall of Rome. The giant had become a specimen. Elsewhere along the trail stands a stranger monument, a living sequoia that loggers began to cut and then abandoned, a deep saw scar carved into its base. For more than a century since, the wounded giant has kept on growing, healing slowly around the gash. It is a quiet emblem of the whole grove, a survivor that carries the mark of the blade it somehow outlived. By the time the sawing slowed, the grove had been transformed. Where a shadowed cathedral of red columns once stood, there was now an open field of enormous stumps, some broad enough to turn a wagon team upon, ringed by the shattered remains of the fallen. Walking here, you feel the absence as much as the presence, a forest defined by the giants that are no longer standing. But the destruction stirred a conscience. Voices like Muir's and a growing public wonder at the Sequoias began to turn the tide. People who saw the slabs in distant museums or the stumps in the grove asked whether such trees should be cut at all. Out of that reckoning grew one of the first great movements to protect the wild, and the surviving groves would be saved not for lumber, but for awe. Just to the north, the finest survivors were guarded first. In 1890, the government set aside the General Grant Grove, protecting its greatest tree, the General Grant, the second largest sequoia on Earth, a living tower over 250 feet tall and thousands of years old. A small island of giants had been placed at last, beyond the reach of the saw. The General Grant was given a second honor. In 1926, it was proclaimed the nation's Christmas tree, and to this day, a service is held each December at its base. Later, it was named as well a living shrine to those lost in war. A tree that a lumberman might have measured in board feet had become, instead, a national monument that draws pilgrims every year. In 1940, the groves and the Great Canyon beyond were joined together as Kings Canyon National Park, safe for good. And so the Big Stump Grove stands today as a lesson written in wood, its living giants soaring beside the stumps of their fallen kin. To walk this trail is to stand between two ages, the one that felled these trees and the one that finally learned to let them grow. Giants 3,000 years in the making, a grove of stumps and survivors, and a nation that learned, almost too late, to spare them. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.